I'll pull in Sam. I think he's been in before. So he says, what do you think of men and women's relationships are supposed to look like outside of sex? What does that time in between look like? Is there whole relationship sexual in nature? How do you balance learning skills? It seems once I focus a new one, I lose. Okay, so let's pull him in. Sam, what's shaking, dude?
I need clarification on what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
So thanks, man. Thank you. So clarification, you want to talk about women outside of when you're grinding nasties in the bedroom on the workbench. Like, what are you supposed to be doing outside of that?
I'm more just kind of wondering, what then are the interactions like, even if you're in an LTR, like this time you spend with a woman, what does that look like?
It depends on the relationship. So are we talking about LTR? Are we talking about a plate? Are we talking about friends with benefits? Like, what are we talking about here? Wife?
It could be either or. I mean, like, I guess if you have a friends with benefits, then it's just strictly, hey, we meet up and we have sex. Like, that's strictly all it is. You have
like
fun.
If it's an FWB, you're not taking vacations together. She's not meeting your family. You know, she's not showing up at Christmas or Thanksgiving or anything like that. It's just smash. That's it, right?
Exactly.
Like, are you talking about a girlfriend here now, or?
Not necessarily. This is really just a whole in general kind of like you could even apply this to someone who you're not having a sexual relationship with.
So you're just wondering how to interact with women that you're not in a sexual relationship, basically. Like, where do you place them in your life, or is that what you're asking?
I'm just simply wondering, like, how do you usually interact with women?
I don't. If I'm not banging, why would I be? I mean, we're either setting up to bang, or
not even a question about whether or not you're banging. It's like, let's say you are banging a girl, and let's say she's a plate. She's not necessarily friends with benefits, but you're just seeing her.
Okay, so she's in rotation then, right? I mean, like, you know, you're going to see her on whatever you see her, and you got another girl later on in the week because you're a man of purpose and you're chasing excellence and you have things to do with your day. You're not going on vacation with her. You're not spending a lot of time with her. It's like you're getting to check her out. It's like a longer version of the sniff test. Did you read my book?
Yes, I did. Phenomenal stuff.
You know how in the book, like, I'm talking about the first date is really just a sniff test, you know, for an hour?
Yeah.
This is kind of like the longer version of the sniff test. This is where, you know, where Sean talks about in his book, The Tactical Guide to Women. He's talking about basically, you know, like, you got to vet her over a year and a half to see what she's really made of, you know, apply some stress to it. That's really what you're doing, right? Because you're spinning her as a plate. There's one or two other women in rotation. Maybe you're intimate with them, maybe you're not. You know, you can do whatever you want, but you're basically seeing what she's made out of, right? So, you know, instead of just doing the 1 hour date like you did the first time, maybe you're doing a little bit longer. It's like an evening. Maybe there's a sleepover. Maybe you stay over at her place a little bit, but nothing, you know, that's like beyond days, right? Like, you're not spending an entire weekend together or anything like that. Like, she comes over Friday after work and she leaves Monday morning, right? Like, that's a girlfriend basically when you're starting to do that.
Sam, how old are you, man? If you don't mind me asking.
21.
All right. Yeah, dude. So right now you're at about near the lowest value you'll ever be in your entire life. You know, you know that, right? From what Rich talks about. So you're just going to increase value over time. A lot of this is because you don't see your own value right now and what you need to be doing to gain that value. So you're focused and worried about what kind of time you should be spending with women outside of the bedroom. And I get it. You know, you're figuring your way out through this stuff. So it's not a big criticism, but like, understand you can have good interactions with women in social circles and stuff like that. Like, if I go out on a Friday night, you know, I have women around me. In fact, my Friday night was me and 3 chicks. That was my Friday night. I had a great time. You know, there's time that I spend with guys, you know what I mean? That are my guy time friends time. There's times that I might have a party or host something. Women show up, guys' girlfriends, guys' wives, people I work with, my assistant I just hired as a female, you know what I mean? Like, but the thing is, that's in social circles. I'm sure when Rich goes to his boat club this summer, he's not going to look at women that are there and be like, I don't talk to you unless I'm trying to bang it. You know, of course, no, he's not. Right. He's going to, you know what I mean? He's going to be like a normal person,
just
and
be
have social interaction. Exactly. But see, Rich is a busy guy and he's on his purpose. So is he going to text these girls for hours?
I'm not going to sit her down and be like, hey, you know, I'd like to get to know you. Why don't we have a coffee sort of thing, you know?
unless there's sex involved or
Right.
wanting that to be.
Unless you're going to lead up to something like that.
I should clarify, I'm not looking to be friends with girls at all. That's not,
Okay.
I've realized first and foremost from my education, from
first it's plate status. And then if you want to expand that, then you might want to LTR. It could be monogamous, could be non-monogamous, but you don't promote her to an LTR until she proves that she's worthy of that, right? Meaning she's going to be a complement to your life, not the focus.
Yeah. And that's way down the road for me.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just if you're worried about like, oh man, what rules do I follow so I don't spend too much time with this chick and let it get too deep or any of that stuff, I think you're kind of focused on the wrong thing. If you're focused on your purpose, getting to the gym, making money, figuring that stuff out, then you're barely going to have time to see this chick. You're going to see her when you can see her, and sex is going to be involved. And the problem just takes care of itself. You know what I mean? She doesn't become this fixture in your life that's there every single day or whatever. You don't have to worry about setting those rules because those rules will set themselves as you focus on what you need to do. If that makes sense.
Which actually ties into my second question, which was about learning skills, finding the balance of not losing one that you learn when you start focusing on a new one. For instance, when I first got into, I found Rich Cooper's channel about 2 years ago. That pretty much was my whole introduction to everything Red Pill, Rollo Tomasi, everyone on Rule Zero, and my life could not be better for it. So basically, after all that, it was just how to get the girls, basically, and developing that skill. And I've gone, for my age, decent at it. But then I'm like, okay, what's really missing is money. That's what I should really be focusing on, and that's focusing on purpose, as we say, chase excellence, not women. But what I've noticed is once I start focusing on that a little bit, I lose the skill in just socializing with women.
See, but once you've become a man of purpose and have chase excellence and have the results along with it, money changes a lot of things for you. It creates a lot of options. There's a lot of these guys that manufacture this thing called game, where they make you memorize lines, and a lot of it's fake bullshit.
Oh yeah, fake infields and all that.
Yeah. But it's really about setting boundaries and enforcing them with women. When it comes to longer term, interactions, when you've put your little dent in the universe, and that that continues to grow. The point then is not to screw it up and lose it and give half of it to her. And that's where game, comes into play. But it's not game oh, let me memorize this line and do a redirect and do this and that thing and the other. It's no, it's do fucking what it is that you're on. And if there's some beautiful women around you and you want to invite one or two or three of them, into the mix, different times, same time, whatever the hell it is that you're doing, you can do it. But understanding female psychology and nature is what we talk about. Is what you hear the Rule Zero guys talk about. It's basically the underlying theme of what gets you the results out of life. These guys that are banging on about, notch counts and stuff like this. Look, I would rather sit with my buddy Holt that's climbed 7 mountains on 7 different continents and have conversations with him than some guy that's fucking, hanging on to a notch count number, right? You see what I'm saying? Take a little bit of the focus away from women, move it more towards female psychology, and more importantly, reallocate a lot of that energy towards chasing excellence and putting your dent in the universe. All of that shit with chicks, becomes really easy once you get to that point.
Yeah.
Plus, so losing these skills, it's man, it's just your social interactions. So the essence of kind of what makes my game or pickup, if we want to call it, for lack of a better term, different, is it relies on a strong internal framework, right? So you walk in and you have a strong alpha framework to begin with. So that's all the chasing excellence stuff Rich is talking about. That's why it goes really well with that. Doing combat sports too, being a badass or a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Just a little bit.
I'm looking into getting back into Krav Maga. I used to do that back in high school. My friend and he's doing it over the summer. I'm like, we'll do it when we get back to school. All that good stuff.
So
frame is the biggest thing that I need to at least develop. It's my biggest lacking thing. And reason being is just through young life, I didn't spend a lot of time with men and didn't have a lot of men or role models that were good enough for that.
Yeah, you didn't get to witness how to communicate with women the way that these men
or just in general
with women, or in general, right? Which
managing frame becomes a lot easier when you become a man worthy of managing said frame.
Yeah, it's only gotten better with the shout out to Rollo, mental point of origin idea.
Yeah,
that's the only. Right. It's slightly better, but I mean, yeah.
There's the mental part, which is the most important starting part. It's like you act as if sort of thing, but there should be a transition to becoming the game, like to actually being that mental point of origin. You see what I'm saying?
Then I would still need a transition into that, and that will happen over time.
You're 21, dude. Like, fine, cool, awesome. Just, keep working, towards your purpose, putting that dent in the universe, chasing excellence, make that important. I'm not saying don't date women. Definitely don't get into a long-term monogamous relationship in your 20s. Right.
I've read your
Unless
book,
she's
Aaron
a single
Clary's
mom,
book,
then definitely
Rollo's book.
Yeah, and got really, really big.
message.
Then you should be like Paul and then marry her, right?
Marry her, single mother. Yeah, 45 years old.
Make sure she's got at least 2 kids in tow.
At least a couple different dads.
3 is even better.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
From 2 different fathers, or all 3 of them.
Yeah. Hey, what are you working towards? What's your vocation?
Funny enough, long-term fictional author, but I have ideas for I want to start a business when I start building capital for something in fashion, and I have considered, and I think because of my friend, he basically I don't claim to be a red pill evangelist or anything like that, but I kind of introduced him to some of this stuff, and he's like, dude, this is so awesome. And he kind of inspired me to actually want to start another channel, which I'm researching that as well. And that's just for fun, like how you were explaining earlier. I've been looking at that for a while. So going into that, I just got on an onboarding process for, I've a background in the past 2 years of phone sales and high ticket sales. And in the past year, I've gone a little bit into copywriting. So I want to focus on those 2 skills specifically to start something. So,
all right. So your practice on female game is just like sales skills, man. It really is.
It really
climb
is.
you get rid of yourself, take yourself out of the equation because you're just a badass. All right. You already know it. And then you climb into her brain and you figure out what are her thoughts, feelings, emotions, perspectives, trigger points, and you communicate to that part of her brain to move things along to where you want it to go. It's just like sales. And of course, if the product is not for her, or if she's not qualified for the product, you don't try to sell it to her, right? Move to the next one. It's the same thing. And when you interact with the women on a regular basis, you just interact with them. You're not trying to necessarily sleep with all these women. Like you go to a party or something that someone's throwing, you're just talking to women. That's a chance for you to work on these communication skills with no pressure of closing or trying to make those things happen. And that way those skills develop, and that way you're not losing. When someone tells me I'm losing my skills, that tells me you're focused on a goal, like getting a girl's number, sleep with her, or whatever. And then you're falling on your face, right? Instead of just worried about this communication connection and working on those, what we could call sales skills, right? With these women. And that'll help you throughout as you sell things and build businesses and do whatever to communicate with women, in the marketplace of whatever you're trying to sell is pretty important. You know what I'm saying? So the 2 go hand in hand, actually.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the biggest thing sales gave to me was being able to handle rejection.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that at all in high
most
school.
Young
and then
men
afterwards,
don't have today.
Yeah,
100%.
It's probably the best
They
thing
get
that
rejected
happened.
a few times and then they're like done.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you got that. Good. All right, man. I'm going to make some room for a few others. Thank you.
Yeah.
See ya.